G'day, guys, and welcome to the. Oh, what have I done? Got the video.
We're playing,
Oh,
starting it. Hey, welcome. I feel like we've done this before, just today.
oh.
And you had a hat change.
I don't
But
know what the hell's going on. I can hear everything in my headphone that's going on. So, g'day everyone. That's a interesting start to the chat. But yes, deja vu. What's going on? We're back within 24 hours. I will admit that I got the time wrong and got Stephen up an hour earlier than needed to be getting up this morning, especially on Father's Day.
You didn't need to confess that. We could have just blamed technical difficulties or whatever. You
Mate,
didn't have to confess.
I tell you why, because I kept on getting emails from everyone and messages from everyone going, "You stuffed up the time, didn't you? You did. Just admit it. Just admit it." And I'm like, no. Technical difficulties. Couldn't get the headphone to work and that. But yeah, no. So I will put up my hand. I made the mistake. But the launch this morning went fantastic. But today we are here to talk about. Oh, the announcement went great this morning, but tonight we're here to speak to you, mate. So we
I
we don't
know.
have another guest on. We're going to speak to you about your Kickstarter that has launched about half an hour ago,
Yep, give or take.
and then we're going to tie in with our movie for the week, which is Robocop. So welcome to everyone that's in the chat. If you're new to the show, I'm Sean Keenan from Comics to Movies and more. Make sure you subscribe and click the notify bell. We go live at 10 o'clock each Sunday night, and we talk everything from movies, comics, crowdfunding, and more. So, Stephen, what was the movie that you picked this week?
It's Robocop, and there is a reason I picked it, and we'll run into it. But I would say, as a kid, Robocop was probably the movie that messed me up the most. Easily
Messed
messed
you
me
up.
up. Oh, look, just because I saw the initial scene where Murphy sneaks up on the gang of villains, and it's horrific. Like I think I've mentioned it a few times throughout different strengths. It's horrific. He gets his arm blown off. He gets shot at. It's a messed up scene, and then it's like, and that's the first 5 minutes, and you're going, oh crap, I'm a kid, and I shouldn't be. What I really shouldn't be, because I had some who I used to go to school with, and his older brother had a copy of the tape. As as older brothers do, they go, don't tell your parents, don't tell anybody, come and watch it with us. And it was like, okay, but once you get into it, oh man, it's I did really like the whole concept about the machine part, and on rewatching it, and I've by the way I've actually rewatched this movie multiple times. Um, it's such a well crafted story. You've got all the parody events. I'll buy that for $1. You get all that the fun parts of it. You get, but it's the end line that's the one that really strikes. He goes, "Nice shooting, son. What's your name?" And he doesn't say Robocop. He says Murphy. And you know what I mean? It was perfect. It's one for me. It's one of the, in terms of act structures, in terms of how the movie goes, it's easily one of my absolute perfect movies. Like this and T2 is one of the movies if I see it on TV, or if I see, if I, for whatever reason, it pops up somewhere, I'll just sit and watch it. What do you think
Yeah,
about it?
yeah. Well, I loved it, and it's funny. I watched it again. What I think I was about. Oh, would have been 8 or 9 when I watched this, and going back and watching it this week, I kind of forgot how actual brutal it was. Back then there wasn't MA or MMA and R. It used to just be PG or AO, adults only. So even though some things were classified as adults only, if you're about that 13 to 17 mark, you kind of watched a lot of those films. But
Yep.
going back and watching this, like as you said, the first 5 minutes, I forgot how brutal that first 5 minutes is. I really enjoyed the story. I was surprised at how character driven this story was. Like I think over time it just felt or remember the action side of things, and I guess now being more into writing and more into comics and graphic novels and that type of stuff, that I appreciated, as you said, the acts of this, and the character build up, and then the ending of the film as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and it was very nostalgic going back and watching this, because I hadn't watched it in, wow, man, I reckon probably almost 10 years, I reckon. So yeah.
And I've also watched the reboot. I'm just looking him up now, who the lead character is on the reboot. But there was a reboot of this movie back in 2014, and I'm trying to find out who the lead character was. What was his name? Joel Kinnaman, by looks of it, was the lead character. But the biggest flaw on the reboot, and where I think the original got it right, and this in terms of storytelling, in the reboot, Robocop got to meet his wife and kids again. And I thought that was, in terms of storytelling, that's a really bad storytelling decision, because you want to give him that loss. You know what I mean? Not the loss that he's, the loss that they have moved on. They've been told he's dead. And to bring them back in the reboot, I thought was a really bad play, because you wanted him to gain his humanity back, not because, I saw my wife again, I remember, and all the rest of it. You want to get his humanity back almost by his actions. When he realized, oh gosh, I'm still a cop, and rather than just, and this is the 1987 version, it's the point where he decides somebody, one of the OCP executives was at fault, and the police department was corrupt. I will go and arrest him. And at that point, I think his humanity slowly started coming back. He remembered how important it was to be a cop and all the rest of it. Where I think in the other one is, it's so easy to throw that emotional angle of, here's your wife, here's your kid, bam, I remember everything. I'm back to normal again. And you know what I mean? I think the 1987 was that I've lost all these things. He still had flashbacks and all the rest of it, but I've lost all these things. But yet, you know what? I still can get my humanity back by my actions, by still trying to uphold the law and stuff. His prime directives, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I did enjoy the 2014 one. Again, I haven't watched that for a couple of years, but I agree with you in regards to the story telling of that one. I felt like it was a little bit cliche in that regards of going, here we're just going to give him his family back. He'll remember, and then he'll go on his not vengeance, but his hunt,
merry way.
it's a type of thing. And I was like, the thing that really got to me and about the original one was that loss, that you did want him to kind of speak to his family. You did want him to knock on the door and everything, but that's not being able to do that, not doing that step is what made him turn into Robocop, and as you said, he moves on himself and kind of gains his humanity, by his actions, rather than just walking up, knocking on the door, and then having a frizz moment, going, I've seen my wife, a couple of memories come back, and it's just it's interesting when they do these reboots that they don't seem to want to copy the story, from go to woe.
Yep.
But it seems to always be that the part that they like the main part that they change is the reason why it's not as good as the original.
I know. I agree. But one thing which and this is a slight aside from the movie, and I've always thought about this a lot. If you're going to reboot, why don't you reboot a movie that was supposed to be good, but they screwed it up? So not a good movie. Like, let's talk about there was one I really liked. I think Sean Connery was in it. Let me just think. It's Dragonheart. I absolutely love the premise. I loved, Sean Connery saying "to the stars, Bowen," and what all the rest of it. But there's so much wrong with that movie, and I won't go too much into it. But it had all the really really nice elements in there. The why him and the prince were linked in the heart, but it was just. And also the special effects were really bad. Sean Connery as the dragon. If you look back on it, it hasn't dated well. Why don't you take a movie which was almost there, like Dragonheart, and just go, I'm going to remake that, and I'm going to
Dude,
make it good.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
They've made 7 of them.
Really? Oh, 7? I've got to check it. Did it come on
The
cinema,
latest one came out earlier this year.
Really? Oh man,
I kid you not. I kid you not.
Totally missed out because I watched Dragonheart as a kid, and I was thinking, oh god.
I might be exaggerating. There might not be 7, but I think there's at least 5.
I'm looking.
So
there's New Beginning number.
Yep.
But I know why I haven't seen it. It's no excuse if I'm going to make a call like that. It's no excuse. But it was direct to video, so
all of them.
So I complete ignorance because it was direct to video. Never heard of any of them.
But in talking about reboots, and we're getting off track a little bit here.
That's okay.
I've been watching, or I've watched all of Cobra Kai on Netflix over the last week, and talk about doing the nostalgia, but a new storyline. Fantastic. I love that they take it from Johnny's point of view, even though LaRusso is still in it. Daniel is still in it. It's mainly focused on Johnny's point of view, and you kind of it's quite interesting because when they do the flashbacks to the original movie and everything, and the way Johnny explains stuff, it actually does make like Daniel seem like not this pure innocent guy that he was made out to be, type of thing. And the one that I found really interesting is that scene on the beach where he's with Ali, and he goes up to Johnny, and Johnny kind of like pushes him over. Yes, he probably shouldn't have pushed him over, but Daniel sucker punches him. Like he punches him in the gut, and it's like, well, hang on a sec. This guy then goes, okay, well, if you're gonna sucker punch me, you're gonna get what's coming. So I found it really interesting. I don't know if anyone's in the comments and watching. If you guys have watched Cobra Kai, I'd love to hear what you think. But I just think they have done an amazing job at both hitting that nostalgia feel, having good storyline within both seasons, and also introducing new characters. And I don't want to spoil the season, but the way they add the nostalgia, like the 80s and everything, they do it quite clever, and that's in regards to the music that is being played, them having to go to like the roller rink, and it just happens to be 80s nights, and those type of things, so they're all dressed up in the 80s, is done very, very clever without being like cliche and boring. So I highly recommend you go watch it if you haven't watched it.
Look, I'm going to put something up after all this. I'll put it in the links towards the end. But look, Cobra Kai is really, really high on my list to watch. I really, really want to watch it. I love Karate Kid when it first came out. Not so much the second or the one afterwards, the third one, but the first one I enjoy. But there's actually a really good YouTube video, and again, I'll share it at the end, called Daniel is the Real Bully. And if you watch, he antagonizes everybody. It was him. And you see how the video plays out. The situation is de-escalated here. Everybody's walking away. And then you said the sucker punch comes in, And then you can see the other one was he does all this. I think there's one scene he just when he was dressed up as the shower curtain or something, and he chucked something on his bully, and it was. I'll share the link. Look, I'm explaining it really, really badly, but I'll share the link. Do watch it after our show, of course, but do watch it because it shows that Daniel was the instigator. He's the one who escalates every single situation.
And that's what I love. And that's what I love about Cobra Kai as well, is because Daniel always thinks the worst of Johnny without even letting him explain or finding out the full story. So, as you said, things escalate, and it's like, well, hang on a sec, man. Just take a step back. You're supposed to be this, really calm and everything type of guy. Yet you're just almost as bad as Johnny is in regards to retaliating and making the situation worse. But let's stop talking about Cobra Kai. We talk about it all night.
That's okay.
So
I want to watch it actually. We'll finish watching it, and we'll do one of the next few shows if we can convince the next few guests watch Cobra Kai, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But back onto Robocop. So the one thing I did like, and this is going to be a segue a little bit into the Kickstarter, which I've just started called Transhuman. One of the things that I really enjoyed, one of the initial parts about why I started Transhuman was I actually did some work for a hearing aid company, and what they were saying is that as you grow older, I don't know if you know, but you actually lose your hearing frequency range. So humans can hear between a certain frequency to another certain frequency, just like your eyes can see a certain frequency to a certain frequency as well. You can't see ultraviolet. You can't see infrared, but you can see most stuff in between. So a lot of the concept came with it was when you put a hearing in place, because the hearing is basically physical, that what they discovered was that you could actually set somebody to hear frequencies that a normal human cannot hear, which means humanity, it actually is the evolution of humanity that, guess what, from a hearing that gets implanted, you can actually hear stuff that a normal human can't. And as time goes, and they use this as an example, as you're a kid, you can hear a lot better, and your hearing deteriorates over time. But when you put a hearing aid in, sometimes they can start hearing music. They've never. Some of the comments some of the patients give back was, "I haven't heard that song properly in decades," and I thought that was a really, really interesting concept to play with. And it was actually fun because in Transhuman, I actually got to do color again. If you know, with the last few projects, Terra Olympus, I didn't have color to play with, and so we would investigate a lot of color theory as well. So I don't know if you know, but you have 3 cone receptors in your eyes. And I'm sorry, I'm always going down the sci-fi route a little bit. But a lot of colors, your brain actually does not perceive. Which I think cyan is one of them. A yellow is one of them. Your brain actually has no idea what it is because your eyes actually don't have the receptors to actually properly translate that. If you know the usual, like a mantis shrimp has God knows how many more receptors than our eyes do. We only have three receptors. So the idea behind it is when we see certain colors, your brain basically just makes it up. Because look, I have no freaking idea what that color is. I'll just make it up. Which means if you think about it, say between me and you, Sean, your yellow would be totally different to my interpretation of yellow. If we could swap processing part of the brain that translates colors. Your yellow is not my yellow because your brain's just thrown something together. And I find that really, really fascinating, that what if you could get eyes which have all the receptors in place, you know?
Well, it's
What could
funny.
you do?
I never got my eyes tested as a kid, and it wasn't until, oh man, I reckon I was in about year 11. So quite late, about 15. Would have been about 15 years old. And it wasn't until someone had said something about a sign, like in a distance, that were out mucking around and whatever. And my mates were all laughing, and I'm like, "Oh, what are you laughing at?" And they're like, "Oh, the sign." And I was like, "Oh." I've gone, damn, can you guys read that? And they're like, yes. Why can't you? And I was like, oh, no. And it wasn't until that point that I realized that how bad my eyesight was. And I'd been playing football and everything like that. And I just gathered that people couldn't see to the other end of the ground when I played footy. It never occurred to me that there was actually something wrong with my
Yeah,
eyes and everything. And that idea of people seeing things in a different color and not knowing until someone says, well, that's red. Why
yeah,
are you saying that red? Because the majority of people see that as red, but
yeah,
could that actually be purple?
correct.
It's just we say that it's red because the majority of the population
Yeah,
see it as red. So
yeah. So you see it as red because it's that frequency. It's the same frequency for everybody. So that red still goes on that same wavelength. But your red, in your what you perceive as red, might be my blue, or it could be totally different. It's just how the brain interprets the signal, and I love it. So that is a segue. Um, I'm going to put the Kickstarter link in the chat if you guys want to check it out. But would you like to play the video? I'm actually
definitely, I love to, mate. Let me make sure I've clicked the audio this time because that is my fault of whenever I do these things. So let me do full screen and we will play the video.
My name is Rivka. This is my story. I was a soldier, but was injured on duty. I was augmented in a transhumanism project. Transhumanism is the next step in human evolution, or an affront to God, depending on who you believe. My cybernetics allow me to do more than I could ever imagine. Faster, stronger. My life is still a mess, though. It's not something that can be fixed with a cybernetic. When the body can be replaced, what does it mean to be human?
Nice. I loved that video the first time. First time I saw it, and the part that really got me when I saw that was that my life is still a mess. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, how much cybernetics I've got, or how much more superpowers or any of that type of stuff. My life is still in a mess, even with all these extra things. And I think that is if I took anything away from that, is what I think makes it human, is that it's the interactions with other people that makes us human, not necessarily what we're made of. But
yep.
that's just me.
Oh,
That's just me.
oh no, definitely. And so let's scroll down. So
Yep.
I'll run you guys all through the campaign. So two shout outs first. One of them is to Alan Sands, who is actually the artist for this project. So he did the cover and did all the interior artwork. And there's a Sydney person called Chris Pacane. You can see his name down there. He did all the colors and a lot of editing touch-ups for me. So that was the original cover. The second one is by Von Randall. So Von Randall did Terra Olympus, the interior artwork. So he did a variant cover for me. And we got, actually, this was actually the first time I've used it. Used him, Kevin Anthony Di Castro. So Kevin also did a lot of your XCT covers as well. So
yeah, yep. That one looks absolutely beautiful. I really love that. So, yeah, and it was funny that both Von and Kevin actually know each other.
yeah.
Which I found out the other day, which is quite funny. So,
Oh no,
yeah.
and I looked. It was easy for them to work together as well. So eventually, and like I've always said in all my campaigns, if you guys have received anything from either myself or Sean, we are both. I've converted Sean. He's a paper snob now, so it because look, we want the books to last, and I do know some people work on newsprint, and look, I have got nothing against that. Absolutely nothing against that, but I always go for at least the 150 GSM. It has to last because it needs to be glossy. It has to last. It has to not feel like it's going to tear in your hands. So I'm always of the case. If you're going to print, make it last. And
100%.
so where I've had the central conflict of the story, and this is even so, the story revolves around Rivka, as you heard from the story. She's the transhuman in the story, but one thing I really enjoy doing is, and I actually haven't really done this in most of my works, is really to set up a really big central conflict of ideology even. So you've got the scientists basically saying, hey, look, let's do everything. Let's start talking about X-ray vision, low lighting modes, and you can see some of the adaptations he's doing. But what he's always, when he gets questions, it's just to make people's lives better. It's just to make people's lives better, help the disabled. And then you've got the much more religious standpoint where it's going, hey, look, you're destroying the human body. And what you do find out a little bit through the story is that a lot of people treat these augmentations as gadgets. So you know what? I'm going to remove my eye and I'll upgrade to, I 2.0 or I 3.0, and it becomes a bit of a game and, the catch up. And the world is just at that absolute cusp of society where it's like the whole cloning debate. I don't know if you guys remember that when Dolly the sheep first came about, that we have the technology now to clone humans. It's just illegal around the world. It's at that point where this discussion is happening. The cybernetics are being introduced for bits and pieces, but there's a lot of argument here on how far it's going to be allowed. And you find that you have these two ideologies arguing it out. And so what I try to make it a point is when you discuss themes and ideologies is, I'll be honest with you, when you finish reading this, you won't get the answer from me. I absolutely do not give you the answer. When you read through it, what I'm hoping you will come out from it is you will see two perspectives. One perspective you might agree with a little bit more than the other. Go with that. And if you want to message me on my personal perspective, I'm happy to share that, with yourself. But I try to make it in the story that, you know what, it's not right or wrong. It's an ideology. It's like, what do you think? So I would always say to you guys, when you do read this and you think somebody's bad or somebody's good, it's not always that case.
I want to throw in my Star Wars reference and say that it depends all on your certain point of view.
Yeah.
So that's my one Star Wars reference that I've chucked into this show. So
you've heard the thing. The Emperor was not wrong. Have you heard that comment that series before? He brought peace to the galaxy,
just not the piece he thought. So, but yeah. So let me keep scrolling. So,
why did he build the Death Star? Because the rebels kept causing trouble. Now the rebels sat at the table to negotiate. Maybe, So in here, he's this. You can see the scientist character. Basically, he's discussing all the different features and the evolution of it. And you scroll, we won't read through too much of it, but if you scroll down a little bit more, then you hear the preacher basically discussing, his perspective of it. And there is a little bit more of a dig in it. But saying that though, it's not just a philosophy book. You guys will get way too bored about it. You see Rivka with her cybernetics being able to do different things. Like in this case, she tracks the target, and then, she senses targets moving, she tracks the target. And her cybernetics actually do interface a lot. So this is actually a really fun scene here. So you find out that she's got all these amazing abilities, but man, she goes home and gets drunk every night because her life's a mess. So she comes home, and you can see the auditory shutdown, visual shutdown. She shuts down cybernetics and she goes to sleep. But the whole point about it is that she starts, her dreams are still there. So she remembers back when she was a soldier. And there are a couple of soldier scenes as well and this is basically how she got injured. So there was basically a bomb and she was meant to dispose it. But the bomb was designed not to kill. It's meant to be those hideous bombs which are meant to maim people and injure, those really horrible ones, I think.
Yeah.
But she realizes she doesn't have time. So she sticks her right hand. If you look at the next page, she sticks her right hand, and that basically blows up her right hand and, hurts her, blows up her eye and all the bits and pieces. But because it was one of those, you can see, one of those bombs which does that. And then she remembers bits and pieces, and her life is absolutely still a mess. And more than that, if you saw in the video, there's a little bit of a sneak peek where she sees divorce papers. So even in her personal life is a mess. And there is a dig down to say why her life is a mess. So, and she now works as a bodyguard to the professor. So she has to stop an assassination attempt on the professor at all the same time of basically trying to fix up a lot of her own personal problems. So the funny thing is, when you do read through all this, you will actually find out of all the different characters, and I try to develop them as, to be fully fledged characters, that Rivka, who is the transhuman, is probably the most human of all of them. Like all the rest of the people have agendas. They all have, this is why I do certain things. But Rivka is probably the most human of it. If we can just freeze on the PDF pack though, and this is something I want to make sure you guys, anybody who backs on the PDF level, and the PDF level is actually available on every single level. So if you're the type of people who would like to keep the book in mint condition, that's great, because you can just read the PDF. So what we always do with the PDF is I usually put a small pack together. By the end of it, of most campaigns, that pack will have grown up to a huge amount. So using Terra Olympus 2 as an example, by the end of it, we were giving away 8 different other comics as part of the PDF pack. So we were talking, and thank you, Jerry, for contributing as well. We had Astro Genesis, all the Astro series in there. We had XCT, we had Wordsmith. So if you get the PDF pack and you're thinking, oh man, that's, I'm paying whatever and I'm just getting PDF copies, I will make you a promise. Before the campaign is over, that PDF pack will have grown to more than double that size. You think there's 4 PDFs in there? There will be at least 8 more added to that. And I'm hoping to get more in so that you guys can at least enjoy the read. And the great thing about PDFs as well is you can enjoy different stories. So I'm not really, in terms of PDFs, I don't try to make it so that, I need to find another sci-fi PDF to put in. I will try to find another fantasy PDF to put in. I will try to put a whole bunch of other stuff to put in so that basically anybody who gets a PDF gets to enjoy a whole different range of stories. If we keep scrolling down. So
keep scrolling down. Yep.
With the print,
2 print copies.
You get 2 different covers.
Yeah. I'm really loving that cover. That cover is so beautiful. Yeah. Von and Kevin have done a great job on that. So,
and with
with
every main copy, you'll get as well a small little business card as well. So that was done by an Italian artist, Elena. So I loved her artwork. I thought she draws women very, very well. So if you ever get bored, I'll chuck again. Remind me. I'll chuck a link in the comments a bit later. Go see our artwork. We also include 2 A5 prints. Again, if you guys have ever bought anything Terra Olympus or any previous books, these prints are on cardstock, so they are on the same type of material as the cover, except they're not glossed on, and they look really, really good framed. The good thing about it being A5 as well, I can usually slot it in a power book, and it usually comes in really nice. So I'm actually borrowed a lot of people from Terra Olympus. So Sebastian Navas, if you like original artwork, Sebastian Navas is actually going to contribute some of the interior artwork as well for the book, the prologue section. So he's kindly agreed to do that. The other thing is Sebastian Navas also did the variant cover for Terra Olympus. And what he's doing, can we scroll up just a little bit more? Back to
Yep.
So what Sebastian Navas has agreed to do is provide the original artwork tier of Transhuman, which basically means if you guys like original artwork, he will do a custom sketch. All the sketches will be unique. Unfortunately, it will all be of Rivka, so unfortunately, we don't take. It'll be just way too difficult to arrange all the bits and pieces. But you can see, look at the detail of the artwork. So he's has it fully inked, and he will put remarks of little colors in there. So that's an example, and that's the detail that comes into one. You can see that's actually the same picture, but just around her pockets.
Yeah.
So it's A4 size, and it will look so nicely framed. And Sebastian Navas is one of the internal artists as well. So, so I thought I actually have a little bit of fun with this because we always have a drawn-in tier. So this cover, when we finish it, will also be inside the book itself. So it doesn't matter. You will be drawn in the book. So if you get this tier, your likeness will be in every single book that everybody gets. So that's given. But I think the really cool one is I have never done a drawn-in tier where you appear on the cover. So what will happen is I think there's about 10 slots available. So what will happen is once that's done, I will get 10, and the guys who have bought the drawn-in tiers before will know this. I'll reach out to you. You'll send me a photo. We'll have a quick discussion. But what will happen was I will draw. You will get drawn in on the cover, and we will have a special black and white cover made up of basically of this image where you get drawn in, and we'll print only about 15 copies of it. And these 15 copies will go to each of these original drawn-in backers. So every backer then will get an original one of these. And the cover itself, the artwork, will also appear inside the book. That means basically your likeness appears in every single printed book, as well as in 15 covers that goes out there. And you will be one of the few people who will get that. I'll keep a copy for myself, and basically the rest goes to you guys. So
that's awesome.
So this drawn-in is you get drawn into the book, and you get drawn into the cover as well. I've never done this before, so I thought we.
Yeah, I was going to say I love this idea because sometimes when you've done a few Kickstarters and you're trying to do the rewards and you're trying to think up of something different, it is kind of hard to kind of think, well, what else can I do? Especially, we've both been lucky enough to have multiple backers that have backed several of our projects and everything like that. So I love this idea that you've thought of something completely unique. So not only do they get a physical copy of themselves on the cover, but that image is also in every other book as well, and knowing that there's only 15 of these type of covers is really cool as well, because I like that highly collectible stuff. So I think that's a pretty cool reward to offer.
And actually, I haven't. Just to let everybody in the chat know, we actually haven't pre-prepared this. But Sean, I know you have 2 Kickstarters coming up. You can steal this. It's yours. It's yours to steal. If you want to do a cover where they get to appear in the cover and that artwork also appears in the book, you can steal this as well. Because I
only steal the good ideas, mate. I only steal the good ideas.
No, but I think it'll be a bit of fun, and it gets you this really limited edition one. So please feel free to steal it.
That's cool.
So we scroll down a bit more.
Oh.
So look, and again, so Vaughn has done a little bit of original artwork as well for me. So at the original artwork tier, basically you get everything else, and you get a chance to get one of Vaughn's Batman or Vaughn's Venom. So this is A4 size. Yeah, I love it, and it's incredible. It's all comics. And if you want the original grayscale artwork that's used as well, here's the opportunity to get it. It's A4 size as well.
Nice.
So, and yeah, so that's really it. Stretch goals wise, what I tend to do is there will be stretch goals. There 100% will always be stretch goals, but I tend to plan it down the track. So some of the stretch goals, and just going to give out there, is basically extend the book a little bit. So there is bits of the story. The story itself doesn't have much flash. I was going to introduce a little bit more flashbacks into Rivka's past. So if we reach certain stretch goals, I can commission a bit more artwork for the book. So that's one thing we can do. I always do a wall of fame. If you guys ever see the link to it, basically it means as long as my website still runs, your name will appear on that website forever. And it's also for me, it's a really huge thank you for everybody who's ever backed some of my work. And I think Sean and both myself have always said it. This happens because of you. And we can make the stories, but they don't come to life unless somebody like you guys actually say, hey, look, I want a copy and I want to see the story come to life. And it's really just all on you guys that make basically all these projects happen.
Yeah, so what's the target and the length of the project? So we've got...
It's 5,000, and we've got...
Yep.
And it was 29 days. So what Kickstarter does, as soon as you launch it, because you start on 29, so as soon as it launches, it drops down by a day. So it's been running now for just about an hour. So again, thank you so much for everybody who has backed already. It's bubbling along.
Got a few comments of people that have already backed it in that are watching tonight. So thank you for everyone that's in the comments that has backed it. We do have a couple of questions for you as well in the chat. So George has said he likes the term transhuman. Makes a nice change from cyborg. He likes it when Australian creators do something different with terminology. I've found with you, and I will ask this question about transhuman if you intentionally did that, but I know with some of the other projects that I've worked with you on, you're very clever at using either different languages or different references that mean the same thing, and to the normal person or the normal reader, they might not pick up on that, but for those people that do a little bit more digging, like around a character's name or something, they'll find that actually ties in either with the title or something like that. So was that something that you did with the title Transhuman?
Firstly, thank you so much for noticing. Very, very few people notice. For example, in Wordsmith, one of the characters is very much based in terms of his speech pattern. I took it like a Russian language. So in a lot of times, he would say ja or nye. And by looking at the context, people can actually figure out exactly what he's saying, even though I put no translations in. I don't put I know in a lot of comics, they put that star and then they put the translation on the bottom. I refuse to do that, because if you write a really good comic and you put the scenes in really nicely, they should be able to figure out what they're saying even without them saying it. So for people who have read Terra Olympus 2, there's actually, I think, 4 or 5 different words in there, which I actually give no explanation for. Absolutely no explanation on. And it's basically you guys to figure out. But but the whole point is you can get the context, because like one guy, I think that the captain in Terra Olympus 2, when Mia does something really, really stupid, he goes blurry, which is actually kind of a swear word in Afrikaans. So
Afrikaans, that's it.
It's a bit of fun, but the whole point is you don't actually need to know what that word means, because you can see his facial expressions. He's so frustrated. He figures it out. You can figure it out in context. I do a lot of that in, not too much, but in Transhuman, again, there's the same thing in there. I won't spoil it. And I am...
So be on the lookout, everyone. So if you back it, you read it. Be on the lookout for that. So Mark,
feel free to come back and ask me afterwards, but I'm happy to tell it to you. Like Terra Olympus, I'm happy to talk about it now. But if once you finish Transhuman, and if you can pick up from the references, please feel free to come back and talk to me.
Nice. Mark has said 60 pages is the perfect number for a Kickstarter project. Enough story to satisfy and can be collected later with other volumes. You've predominantly done graphic novels and not done the single issue route that most comic creators do. Is there a reasoning that you decided to do Transhuman as a full graphic novel as well?
Oh, mainly because I like a story from beginning to end. And I find it, in most cases, a 22-page story, you can't get the complexity of that. You know what I mean? You can't get all because a lot of fans here, I'm hoping, have read Terra Olympus. There's a lot of different plot threads that just weave in and weave out. If you do a standard 22, you only really got an A and a B story you can work with, which ends, which you gotta wrap up pretty quickly. And I think that's an absolute shame that you can't tell. And that's why most comics, if even the floppies, it's usually most stories I get told over, say, about 3 or 4 issues, which you're looking at about 60 to 80 pages anyway. So
yep.
And the other thing would be is, and absolute personal opinion, I know some people love the floppies, and to be fair, I still buy the occasional floppy through. I like, but the one thing I find is floppies get damaged really easily, and it's just the way it is. What I try to do is, if you make a book, it lasts a lot longer, and that's why, as I mentioned, I'm a bit of a paper snob, because I actually want the books to last. And the one thing is, and I've been very lucky, and I think some of Sean's book as well are in some libraries, and what they're saying is, average book in a library will last about 10 borrows before they trash it, or they buy a new copy or whatever. If you do it, and that breaks my heart. Just think, you put, and these are, the standard paperbacks, the ones that people bend like hell to read, and the spine gets
break
damaged.
The spine, mate. It kills me. I complain to my wife all the time, like, why are you doing that? You don't need to break the spine.
I know. But if you design a nice graphic novel where you can, with the high quality, perfect bounded or whatever, and if it's about 60 pages, you don't need to break the spine to read it, because the way it opens. Right. So the other thing would be, it's a bit selfish. I want these things to last, and I cannot stand the idea that, you read it, say 5 times, and it breaks apart.
Right.
Most common novels do that. Yeah.
Well, we've got another one. Would you say Iron Man is transhuman?
Iron Man 1 and 2, yes. Everything beyond 2, he's not, because I'm just thinking MCU Iron Man. And so not Iron Man comics where he has nanites. But MCU Iron Man, no, because he actually removes his heart. He removes his transhuman's part to him. So the heart was the one that was enhancing him beyond it. And he actually removed that at the end of number 3, where he gives it to Pepper and says, "I'm done." And then he goes and builds a nanite suit. So, dude, you just said you're done, and you go and build a new one.
Nice. Mark said PDF rewards are great when you're halfway around the world, which is great. It is good for international backers, and being in Australia, we're Australian creators. Is difficult unless you get a really big amount of international backers in one place that you can do maybe a print run overseas and then ship out from there. But PDF is that great medium that we're able to ship out straight after a campaign once it's all collected and done. So.
And the other one thing which I always want to say is, and we want people to, and I'll talk on your behalf as well, Sean. Like we've always said, and when Darren was here last time, this is not for us to. We don't become millionaires from this. We barely in most cases, if we break even, we're ecstatic. But we do it because we want people to read the story. And if it's a PDF that you can read the story, that makes me happy. If you just read, I think I mentioned before, one of my happiest ones was one of the books I had before. It was a book about an Australian cattle dog. It was actually aimed at younger kids. And it was in a library in Victoria. And the librarian came up to me and said, look, one of the kids really loved your book. We found, I'm relatively easy to find, here, they messaged my Facebook page. I'm paraphrasing. I can't quite remember all the details, but I think they messaged my Facebook page and we swapped details from there. But to get somebody writing to you and saying, hey, look, I loved your book. I borrowed it. It makes, that's why we do it. It's if you enjoy a good story, that's the only reason we do it, because we want you, we have a story to tell. And if you enjoy the story, by the way, even if you don't enjoy the story, I still want to hear from you, because I want it to be challenged. I want to go, because for you to not enjoy the story, it's actually a good thing for me, because that means one of a few things. You either like the character so much where you go, oh my God, how could you make that happen? I'll give you one example. So an editor I work with, I killed off a character. And I thought it was a perfect place to kill this character off, because this particular character would have died with honor. And it was very fitting to what should happen to that character. And my editor wrote back to me, this is a few years back, and said, if she dies, I'm off the project. You cannot kill her. And I'm going, does it make sense for the story? She goes, it does. But if you kill her, I'm off. I'm just off. I cannot deal with this, because she's read through all the scripts and all the bits and pieces, and she's actually reached that point where she's so identifies with the character that she goes, she dies, I'm off. You find somebody else. That's, I can't do this. She cannot die. And I love it. I love it when you actually reach that point where, I suppose one of the best examples of that is and I'm going to use one of your favorite series, The Walking Dead. Have you seen the letters that come through the month after a major character dies? You know how Walking Dead has that?
Yes.
Has one of the absolute best letters. They have the absolute best letters. Have you seen the month after?
Yeah. And I also love how at the end of that, also that issue that Robert Kirkman also does a letter going, that why he did it, how he felt. The one that always sticks with me is when he killed off Andrea, who was such a great character in the story, such a strong character in the story. And he was saying that he really struggled to actually kill her off at that point. But I think that's what good storytelling is that understanding, is there anywhere else for that character to go, or does this what happens, does that affect another character and push them forward in their story arc? The one I always love is I was a big Sons of Anarchy fan, and when they, spoiler alert, when they killed off Opie, that really sent Jackson down that road of, he was, walking that fine line of, trying to do the right thing, but, doing the bad thing for the right reasons. But that really sent him down the wrong track type of thing. So, but yeah, but we had another good one, which it seems like we're rehashing from this morning, but still Lucas's Lego idea. We got talked about that this morning about. So I think that's a great one. I love the idea of the Lego, and I know Lucas, he built that one himself, so he got all the pieces and everything like that. But I think that's a really cool little idea that we can do it. So
I
We've
don't.
got another one from Nerds Amalgamated here. Have you seen Meta Runner, the animated series? It explores transhumanism in esports, and as a bonus, it made by an animation studio in Sydney. No,
I
I hadn't heard about that.
I have not,
Meta
but I
Runner.
would definitely look out for it. Oh, just
That's cool.
on the point of letters, though, and I know we get sidetracked a lot on this, but um, one thing I do want to do for Terra Olympus, and I don't know, Sean, whether you want to do it for your future stuff, is if anybody wants to write in a letter. So Terra Olympus, the next volume is already in production, and I think on a future show we'll show some bits and pieces through. But if anybody ever wants to write in a letter, and I think I've actually got a few, but if anybody else wants to write in a letter, we might print it, and we'll definitely, but we'll always respond to your comments, but we might even print one of your letters up in the back. That's something I've always wanted to do. And I think with this, we are getting slightly better at trying to this whole Kickstarter game. We're hoping so that it's not like, I think between the first two Terra Olympus there were 2 years. Hopefully the next one there'll be a year, and the next one after that will be 6 months. We're trying to streamline a lot of things, but if it ever reaches a stage where it's streamlined a lot, man, we would love your letters to come in, because I would definitely like to reply to some. And the thing is, I honestly don't mind if your letters are, how dare you kill this person off? I hate you. I'm never helping you guys again. You guys suck. Even those letters I'll take.
Yeah, I did it for the first, I think it was issue 1 and 2 of XCT. But we had the letters in the back of people that had written in or made a comment and that type of stuff. But I don't know why I kind of stopped doing that. We called it the locker room, which is because of XCT and having the championship tournament and that. And we had Tom and Joe talk to people that brought in the letters. But I love the idea, and if we had more interaction with our fans and people feeding back of what they thought, what they would have changed, any of that type of stuff, I think it's something that we should definitely do moving forward, type of thing. And to have your letter printed and always in publication is kind of cool as well.
So any Terra Olympus letters which say how much you love the series, send it this way. Anything which you hate and you want to abuse, send it that way.
Send it this way. Thanks, mate. Thanks for that. So,
I want the happy stuff. No, but seriously, if anybody has anything they want to say or do, please send it through. The funny thing is, the reviews I've read, if you guys have read Terra Olympus, Hannah is getting a lot of hate mail. They don't like that Hannah character. The new recruit. Everybody thinks she's really dicey.
I don't understand it either, because I'm like, I don't see what she's saying or anything to be down that avenue. And they're like, oh, is she the one? Is she the one that's doing something? I'm like, really? Out of all the characters, that's who you kind of picked or whatever. So, but this is what I love about how people read comics or books or that type of stuff, is that what we write is not necessarily how people actually perceive or take things in, and getting that feedback and reading that back, I'm kind of, sometimes I just sit back and smile to myself, going, man, you were so way off track. This is going to smack you in the face, like you're not going to believe, type of thing. I kind of get like a little bit of a kick out of it, because I think the worst thing you can do is read a book and they're like, oh, this person's going to do this and that person's going to do that, and this is how it's going to end, and they're like, oh, look, I don't even think I'm going to get the next issue because I know how everything is going to go, type of thing. So
I actually do enjoy. I've read all your XCT stuff, and I really, really do enjoy how it's a bit Westworld-like. I don't know if you realize your XCT is actually. Oh, yeah, I don't trust her as well, but you'll find out more. But have you realized your XCT series is actually follow a little bit of how Westworld is following? The androids, as they escape out of Westworld into the real world. I haven't seen series 3 yet, but
you've spoiled it for me. I didn't know that's what happened. I hadn't watched season 2 yet. Thanks for that.
Sorry, but look, Quick update. I want to read Fractured Worlds. When's that coming out? I know
So,
it's almost there.
literally 20 minutes before we came on air, I got the final proof files. So that after we get off here, I will go through those just to double check everything is 100%, and I will be sending it off to the printers to make sure that they are happy with the files. And hopefully by the end of the week, we'll be gone to print and ready to print them and send them back out to people. It will take me about another week to get them, because I am printing them interstate, and at the moment in Victoria we're still under lockdown and all that type of stuff. So yeah, we're hoping within the next 2 weeks it'll be out to everyone. We do apologise to our international backers that it is going to take some time to get to them with all the stuff that's going on. Although I do know that a few Terra Olympus ones got to international backers within 7 or 8 days, which I thought was amazing.
So some Terra Olympus ones, we did track package again. It's on request if you really want to, but we tracked, and one that was sent out I think on the 21st of August. This one, the last few batches arrived I think about 4 or 5 days ago. So you might get very lucky. So I think I've just read the comment. Moira seems to say she received hers as well pretty quickly.
No problem. Now, I don't think we've chucked the link in the chat, so I want to quickly chuck the link in the chat as well. So it is also in the description, but the link to Stephen's Kickstarter is there. So it's running for the next 28 days. We need to get that to $5,000, and then we can see another amazing book by Stephen created. So. And then I will be back next week with Lightmare Studios to talk about XCT Infinity and the crossover between XCT and the video game company. So, which is super exciting as well.
And so that everybody knows, your launch for XCT Infinity will be before Sunday, if I'm correct, before the.
So it's gonna be the 18th of September. Now we're looking at doing a live launch, so it will be 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on September the 18th. Now what we'll be doing is we'll be playing the video game with the XCT characters that are going to show up in the video game, which is kind of exciting. So I'll probably get beaten each time I play, so I'm not 100% up on the game, but it's going to be a lot of fun playing with all the different characters and that. So we're going to release the cards next week so that you guys can have a look at the artwork. David Jackson is the artist that has done the artwork around it, and yeah, super excited to kind of show what's been going on with that behind the scenes. So.
Awesome. And look, I think it's the hour mark. Thank you everybody so much who has supported Transhuman. Really, really, really appreciate all your help. It's like I always say, it's because of you guys that we can tell stories, and you get our biggest thanks for always letting us tell stories. Sean, that's it for me. Look, and thank you so much for giving me today this stream to basically talk about my project. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me. And
no problem. I'm going to say g'day to the people that had come on before we leave. So Nerds Amalgamated, thank you very much. George Hall, who's always come on. Moira, great to see Mark on the show as well. Tatey Cake, we had Sazigal. Lucas was on earlier as well, so thanks Lucas for coming on. And we do know that a few people had commented right at the start. Shane from COMICS2MOVIES had said that he'd already backed it and was super excited, and Moira had also said that she's already backed it as well. So
Thank
thank
you,
you
guys.
to everyone. As we say, we're super excited to be able to release things, and Kickstarter is the main way we're able to release things. And the more support we get, the more we're able to release and keep creating and keep you guys entertained. So thank you very much for spending the night. Thank you for being my co-host once again, mate. We did miss you last week, but shout out to Lucas.
Oh,
You did a
Lucas did a
great
great
job, mate. Thank you very much. I probably should have given him a couple of questions. I felt bad after the show. I was like, oh man, just threw you straight in the deep end, and it's like, oh, well, I didn't know what to ask. And so, but thank you very much, Lucas. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys all next time. And remember, if you haven't subscribed or liked our channel, please subscribe. We appreciate all the support.
Thanks.
Have a nice night, guys.